Just Mercy, A Story of Justice and Redemption, is a powerful and eye-opening book written by Bryan Stevenson, a dedicated lawyer and advocate for criminal justice reform. This memoir recounts Stevenson's experiences as a young attorney and his tireless efforts to challenge systemic injustice in the American legal system. The book is a compelling exploration of the flaws in the criminal justice system, highlighting the need for compassion, mercy, and reform. The book begins with Stevenson's early experiences as a law student and a young lawyer. He shares his initial encounters with death row inmates and the profound impact these cases had on him. These encounters set the stage for his lifelong commitment to fighting for justice, particularly for those who are marginalized and unjustly treated by the legal system. Stevenson's narrative introduces readers to Walter McMillan, a black man wrongly convicted of murder and sentenced to death in Alabama. Stevenson's journey to exonerate McMillan becomes a central focus of the book. He meticulously investigates the case, uncovers evidence of perjury and misconduct, and eventually secures McMillan's release after years of unjust imprisonment. Just Mercy also delves into the broader issue of racial bias within the criminal justice system. Stevenson shares heartbreaking stories of other clients who were sentenced to death or given excessive sentences due to racial discrimination and poverty. He highlights the inherent injustices of a system that disproportionately impacts people of color and those without access to adequate legal representation. Throughout the book, Stevenson emphasizes the importance of humanizing individuals in the criminal justice system, including those who have committed heinous crimes. He argues for the value of mercy and the belief that every person is more than the worst thing they have ever done. This perspective underpins his work as a lawyer and his advocacy for reducing harsh sentences, especially for juveniles. Just Mercy also discusses the prevalence of mental illness among inmates on death row and the lack of adequate mental health support in the prison system. Stevenson passionately argues for a more humane approach to criminal justice, including the abolition of the death penalty. The book draws attention to the struggles faced by children and teenagers who are tried as adults and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Stevenson's work with these young individuals highlights the need for reform in the treatment of juvenile offenders within the legal system. Stevenson takes his advocacy to the international stage, challenging the United States' position as one of the few countries that sentences children to life without parole. His efforts lead to the United Nations urging the U.S. to change its stance on this issue. As Just Mercy nears its conclusion, Stevenson reflects on the progress that has been made in the fight against injustice, as well as the ongoing challenges. He emphasizes that true justice requires not only legal reforms but also a change in the hearts and minds of individuals and society as a whole. In the final chapter, Stevenson recounts the story of Herbert Richardson, one of his clients who was executed despite his mental illness and the tragic circumstances of his crime. This poignant narrative underscores the deep emotional toll that the criminal justice system exacts on both the condemned and those who advocate for justice. In summary, Just Mercy is a compelling and deeply moving account of Bryan Stevenson's dedication to fighting for justice and reform within the American criminal justice system. It exposes the flaws and biases within the system and calls for a more compassionate and merciful approach to those affected by it. Stevenson's work is an inspiring testament to the possibility of redemption, and his book serves as a call to action for those who believe in the power of justice and the value of every human life.